jump up, people, are you ready?
Hello everyone and welcome again to On Tour. It's the second test, first day at the St Richards Stadium, and the news there from North Sound is that the West Indies, after day one, are 287 for 7. Don't forget the first test ended in a draw. Hello everyone again, I'm Barry Wilkinson. Thank you so much for joining me, and of course our wonderful guest. Let's have a look at the scorecard after day one. The Windies, for the first time in the entire series, whether it's the ODIs or the tests, are batting first. Sri Lanka, though, won the toss, as a matter of fact. And at the end of day one, like I said, 287 for 7, with captain Craig Brathwaite unbeaten on 99, well in sight of another test century. It's been a while since he's got there. Let's hope that he can do so on day two. 99 not out, passing 4,000 runs in Test cricket as well. He struck some 11 fours. We'll look at his innings a bit later on. He shared two crucial partnerships, one with Kyle Mears, falling short again of another half century, making 49. He actually put on 71 with Kyle Mears, and then an unbroken partnership with Rakeem Cornwall of 65. Cornwall unbeaten on 43, showing some level of consistency. We also saw good supporting knocks coming there from Jason Holder, who made 30. So then the West Indies, 287 for 7. It was looking pretty good for Sri Lanka at one stage, but a really good fight back and some very good concentrating and batting from the captain, Craig Brathwaite. Let's have a talk with our guest then. We've got former West Indies and Barbados speedster Tino Best, back from India, playing, of course, for the West Indies Masters. In the middle there, we've got Johnny Barron, the international BBC correspondent. And, of course, the man we're going to start with first and foremost is the former Ghana and West Indies captain, Sir Clive Lloyd. Sir Clive, honours even, you would say, on day one, or perhaps the West Indies edging ahead? Your thoughts?
Well, I thought that at one stage it looked like Sri Lanka had the upper hand, but West Indies just batted well. The captain playing a wonderful inning, fantastic inning, and I must say congratulations to him for his 4,000 test runs. Yes, he held his side together, and I must say that they have some very soft dismissals, really. I think, you know, when our guys get to 50s and 40s, they must carry on. And it doesn't matter if you bat ugly. You're going to have to do that at some time during your career in Test cricket. But, you know, I think they've redeemed themselves. If they can get to 350, well, they're well and truly in the game.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Johnny Barron, how do you see it from a Sri Lankan perspective after they finally won the toss and they decided to insert the West Indies?
I think the Sri Lankans bowled manfully all the way through the course of the day. Lakmal was incredibly impressive again with 3 wickets, and he bowled brilliantly through the course of the day. Probably lacked a little bit of juice with the second new ball, but bear in mind 3 or 4 long spells going into that particular phase of the game. But I think Sri Lanka will largely be happy, but they'll just be disappointed they let West Indies off the hook in the final 15 overs of play or so.
In summary, Tino Best, welcome back. In summary, how do you see it?
Yeah, it's good to be back, Barry, with my favorite people. Look, I thought that even Stevens, I thought that Sri Lanka bowled beautifully with the new ball to have the West Indies in a bit of trouble. Lakmal showing all of his experience in leading from the front. That's what you want from your senior fast bowler. But I thought that knock from Craig Brathwaite was absolutely tremendous. Congratulations to him on 4,000 test runs. I think he arguably might be the first opener that got 4,000 test runs since Gill. I don't think we've got anyone who's got 4,000 test runs. I stand to be corrected. But congratulations. It was a not leading from the front. And that's what you want from your leader. But all in all, Barry, I think it was an even day. And I said 50-50 for sure.
Let's start with you then, Tino, on Craig Brathwaite. Let's look at his innings. 99 not out. He played some shots. He looked perhaps a bit more focused today. What was the hallmark of the innings for Craig Brathwaite for you? 239 minutes, 11 fours for that 99. What was the hallmark?
Look, when I first heard about Craig Brathwaite as a young schoolboy, they talk about his immense ability to concentrate, and he's done it. He's continued to do it. Look, he's in the mold of Alistair Cook. You're not going to pay your money to see Craig Brathwaite back, no way at all. But he is a cricketer that you need in your side, and he is very productive in terms of getting runs, batting balls, and batting teams into a good position. He's done it for Barbados on many occasions. He's continuing to fight hard for West Indies. We know that we would like him to be a little bit more consistent, but his hallmark was just his ability to concentrate for long hours. And I can tell you what, they are not going to get Craig Brathwaite. He's going to bat the entire innings like he did down in Dubai against Pakistan. So I think the young man is leading from the front, and that's what you want to see from your leaders. Jason Holder have done it in the past. I know the mantle is with Craig Brathwaite, and he's showing that mantle and leading the side. So he's fighting, and that's good to see.
Yeah, you're right. I think Craig Brathwaite was the only man that ever did that, bat through an entire innings. So, Clive, you look at the partnerships, because we spoke about those partnerships. You said on the program that it was no fluke of Kyle Mears to get 210. And this man is proving that he is indeed very consistent, but he's now not able to break that half-century barrier. He's getting out in the 40s quite often. When you saw him bat today, played a lot of fluorescent shots, but he got out at a very crucial stage. Talk to me about Kyle Mears, Talk to me about Kyle Mears.
Oh, thank you very much. I like the adjective, I must say, young. The point is that I think he's got the ability. It's no doubt about it. He strikes the ball pretty well. He hits it firmly. He's a sort of pugnacious player. But I think that when you get to 50 in a test match, and you batted that long, you'd have faced most of the bowlers, if not all of them. I would like to see them hitting the ball down the ground. This spinner that they have, I think we're not milking him enough. And you can play shots off. He didn't, one or two balls turned a little bit today, but you can use your feet and just drive the ball down the ground. And the point is, I think that is what we need to do with the spin bowlers. They've got the quick bowlers. They bowl very good lines. Their length and so on is quite good, but they're not menacing. So I think once you've gotten over that, you should be able to continue. And I'd like to see young Mears, when he gets there, if he gets to 50, because he really can take a bowling apart and make it easy for the lower players. But I still think that most of our players are struggling outside the off stump, especially our left-handers. And I think that is something they have to work on. But it was a very enthralling day's play. And I think, I hope that they can get to 350. Because if you get to 350, you're in the game.
Johnny, I come straight to you about that very intriguing partnership at the end, unbroken on 65, between the captain Brathwaite and, of course, none other than Rakeem Cornwall. How do you see Rakeem Cornwall? Because he's batting so low down at number 9. Just before him is Alzari Joseph. But he's continued to show that perhaps, look, I need to get up this order. Talk to me about Rakeem Cornwall and his innings, Johnny Barron.
Well, again, really impressed by Rakeem Cornwall, and the way to get up that order is scoring runs consistently. And this is two big partnerships that 8th wicket has added. 91 in the first game, and now you've had unbroken on 65. And Cornwall is batting like a man who's got first-class hundreds and 4 List A hundreds, and he's been talked about as an all-rounder. And he needs to be playing in those positions. Alzari Joseph is in front of him at the moment, who batted quite nicely for a period of time today. But Rakeem Cornwall looks like a man with talent, and he's proving that talent right now.
All right, wonderful stuff. You're watching On Tour. When we come back, we got some dismissals to analyse and how the West Indies went about being in trouble on 3 occasions to get to 287 for 7. You're watching On Tour. Stay with us.
Put up your hand, it's time to party. Turn it up to the top, it's time to jump up. People, are you ready? Windies in the land, just put up your hand, it's time to...
Welcome back then to On Tour as we continue to look at the West Indies and the Sri Lankans on day 1 of the second test at the Savit Virtual Stadium. Well, we continue to analyse the dismissals of some of the West Indies players. We start from the top. Tino, talk to me about what this young man Campbell is doing wrong. He's getting up the same way almost every test match, and it seems to me like he's just stuck in one particular mindset. What's going wrong?
I think he needs a break, Barry. I will be very surprised if Campbell gets another tour anytime soon. I don't like to write players off. I just think that he needs to go back to the drawing board. He needs to go and play some first-class cricket. Right now, there's no first-class cricket that's going to happen anytime soon, but he has to work on it. And look, when you look around the Caribbean, there are not many openers. What we're going to do, we're going to try to get Kyle Shea Hope to open the batting. I don't think he's a test opener. I think that he has to fight for that number 4 or 5 spot in that middle order. That's where Shea is more potent in when it comes to the test match. But Campbell, I don't know what to say about Campbell, Barry. He gets out the same way. He's had a good run. I think how many test matches he's gone? What, nearly 20?
Almost there.
Almost 20 test matches, Barry. And I think the selectors is probably saying to themselves, enough is enough. And I think that he might miss the name for a little while, but he has to go back to the drawing board. The thing about Shane Mosley, who's the other natural opener, we saw that his technique is not up to scratch for international cricket. He has to go back and work on his technique. So who are we going to replace Campbell with? You're looking around. I saw the young Jeremy Salazano in Trinidad. I thought I liked him a lot, Barry. I thought that he would have been a nice replacement, but is he amongst the runs? He has to score runs. And that is what makes you an opening batsman. You've got to score runs against a new ball. But I don't think that moving forward that we can carry Campbell any longer, Barry. I think that, his time has come. I think the young man needs to go back to the drawing board. And I think his confidence right now is dented. Unless he comes in the second innings and score 100.
Which can happen as a commentator's curse. So, Clyde, you look at some of the other dismissals. Perhaps we zone a little bit on Jermaine Blackwood, the vice captain of the team. Look, we saw a level of consistency that was starting to develop from Jermaine Blackwood, but then he faded away somewhat. And now he continues to perhaps just get out in the same manner. If you had to get into his ear, what would you tell him now about the manner in which he's getting out, and of course how to be a bit more consistent as the vice captain especially?
Well, let me first tell you the little bit I see the fella Campbell. Campbell bats outside of the crease, and he's a front foot player. So that means that if you're outside of your crease and you're pushing forward, you would be playing at balls that you shouldn't play at. You better bat inside your crease and wait until the ball swings. And I think those things could only be ironed out by going into the nets with the bowling machine and get it sorted out. It's not gonna, I think that is his problem. Where Jermaine Blackwood is concerned, he's made runs, but the point is he's not consistent enough, and that's because he's looking to play shots all the time. He's got to be able to have the patience, like the captain has. Just knocking it around until you're in, and then you can look to play shots. Because he's a position there. It's a very integral part of the batting lineup. And if we lose a number 3, then we lose him. We're into the middle. So you're putting pressure, and a better bowling side will probably put pressure on us a little bit more. So I think he needs to try and concentrate on his game. Mm-hmm. His powers of concentration are very poor at the moment.
I come to you, Johnny Barron, about young Joshua De Silva, because he has great powers of concentration. We saw it in New Zealand, we saw it in Bangladesh, and we saw it in the first test. But today he looked a little irrational. His shot selection looked a little off. And there was an occasion there where he was actually thought to be given out. He reviewed it, and he actually was beginning to walk off and was called back. What do you think about Joshua De Silva and the kind of innings he played today? He batted for some 35 balls to 1.
Yeah, it's a good question. It was an interesting innings by De Silva, and actually his dismissal followed one of his dismissals in the previous test, which he tends to play the ball a little bit away from his body outside the off stump, and that is very, very dangerous against equipped players like Lakmal and co in this Sri Lankan side. So that's probably something he's got to work on. I wouldn't be overly concerned about De Silva, because that that kind of fifth wicket or sixth wicket partnership onwards has been of real value for West Indies since he's been in the side. And it's just a couple of minor technical aspects that he needs to get into his game. He was, of course, lucky with that LBW that was overturned that Mickey Arthur was absolutely furious about. But I wouldn't lose too much sleep over De Silva because he's shown he's got the big match temperament.
The catching and the fielding today at Sri Lanka was a little bit indifferent, Johnny. I'll stick with you with this. They actually dropped a couple of catches. Mears, for example, was put down. Brathwaite was put down. What happened today with the Sri Lankans? They didn't seem to be concentrating as usual in terms of their fielding.
Yeah, it was a really poor aspect of the game. And I think as all three of us have alluded to, I think Sri Lanka bowled really, really well today. They were let down critically by the fielders, 2 in the slips, of course, and at critical points. Mears was dropped when the West Indies could well have been 42 for 3. Brathwaite was dropped on 37 by Oshada Fernando off Vishwa Fernando, and that could have been 113 for 3. And then De Silva, of course, that LBW, nothing to do with the fielding on that occasion. And then finally, Joseph on 29 was dropped by M. Bildenia off Vishwa Fernando. It didn't cost too much, that particular drop, but that is 3 drops on the first day. That is slack by the tourists.
Yeah, indeed. So, Clive, the pitch and the preparation into this pitch, are you perhaps looking to see a bit more juice in the wicket in the region there in Antigua? Are you happy with how the pitch looked for a day one pitch?
Well, you looked at the pitch, it's devoid of grass. The point is that a test match pitch should have some sort of grass somewhere to give the cricket bowlers some help. It's too bare for me. And today, I thought with the way we were batting, and if we had continued, and not give away our hands, I thought that's what we did, because there's some very soft dismissals, that nothing else was happening. The guys were moving the ball around a little, but we expect that from test match bowlers. But the way the spin is concerned, he wasn't turning prodigiously. So I want to see people playing, using their feet to him and hitting down the ground. And then you'll have that mid-on and mid-off back rather quickly. And then you can score rather quickly. We'll be getting more singles of such. But I think that is something I said even from the first test match. Nobody's using their feet to the spinners, and that's important if you're doing so, because they're thinking again when shall I give it Samir or shall I not give it Samir? So the point is just to take them. You can milk them. You don't have to hit them over the top. You can be hit wide of mid-on. You can hit it straight. You can get 6 and over quite easily without really taking any undue risks.
Yeah, you're right. All right, look, you're watching On Tour, West Indies versus Sri Lanka. When we come back, we're going to hear from the man of the moment, Craig Brathwaite. He needs just 1 run to get to another test century. As Ian Bishop noted, he's the second slowest to get to 4,000 runs. I think Carl Hooper is the other who took this time to get to 4,000. But when we come back, we'll hear from Craig Brathwaite.
Put up your hand, it's time to party. Turn it up to the top, it's time to jump up. People, are you ready? Windies in the land, just put up your hand, it's time to party.
So we're back on Tour, the West Indies to resume on 287 for 7 in just a moment. Craig Brathwaite on 99 not out. He spoke with Alex Jordan at the close of play.
Craig, congratulations. What a captain's knock today. 4,000 test runs. What worked so well for you today?
Well, thanks first of all. Well, for me, I just want to play the ball as late as possible. For me, that was the key.
You got to give me more than that. You made it look easy out there, what we thought was a pretty good track. You playing the ball late, what else?
Well, Sri Lanka, obviously a disciplined, bowling unit. For me, just cashing on the bar balls, and the ball wasn't spinning much. So, rotating the spin as much as possible. But, for me, it was just the discipline of letting the ball come for the entire day, and that's what worked for me.
You had mentioned if you had won the toss, you would go out there and bat. You feel good at 287 for 7?
Yeah, probably two wickets too many, but still happy with the position. And tomorrow is a very crucial day. The first session is very crucial for us tomorrow.
Rakeem Cornwall, once again, is he trying to get further up in that batting order? Has he earned it yet?
Well, he's on his way. I know he always had ability to bat, and it's good to see him getting some scores, and just want to urge him to think big.
And we've been asking you as fans to perhaps send us your thoughts and send us your videos. Here's one such fan. His name is Kevin Pinder.
At the end of the first day's play, it's a pretty even playing field for both teams. After losing the toss and being put into bat, your first objective as a batting team would be to bat out the day. West Indies have done that. They've lost 7 wickets, probably 2 more than they would have wanted, according to the captain, Craig Brathwaite, as well. But fortunately for them, they were able to score at a healthy run rate. So we've already got 287 runs on the board. However, West Indies have to show that they're able to restart well, because I don't really think you're going to be able to assess who has won the first day until the first session on the second day. If West Indies can start well and probably get that total up to around 350, you would say that West Indies made the best of batting first on this wicket. Should we start and lose early wickets and cheap wickets, which we've kind of shown that we have a propensity to do within this match and this series. The last time we had a lead, we were 99, and then we were all skittled out and the lead was only 101. So we have to show that we can come back, concentrate, buckle down, and start well tomorrow. Should Craig Brathwaite, who played a tremendous captain's knock, well done to Craig, and Cornwall, who's really proven that he is a force to be reckoned with the bat. I remember him saying he was surprised that he took a 10-wicket match haul before he scored his first Test century. So he knows what he can do with the bat, and he's showing it now. So should these two continue, they will be able to put the West Indies in a more dominating position within this Test match. But as of right now, I think it's even Stevens, and everything depends on the first session of day 2 to see who takes the ascendancy in this match.
Well, thank you so much. Don't forget, Rivelino Simmons, our executive producer, is telling us how you can get in contact with us. This is how you can do it on the screen. Please send us your thoughts, your comments, your suggestions, and we want to hear from you about how you think the West Indies and Sri Lanka can get better and what you think will happen in this series. Thank you so much, dear Riv. All right, look, gentlemen, finally, Tino, let me start with you. 30 seconds. How do you see it on day 2? How can the West Indies get to 350? How can the Sri Lankans get these 3 wickets?
Yeah, the captain got to score 100. He got to score a big 100. 350 got to be the first. 300, I should say, should be the first job in the morning, and then you can build from there. Rakeem Cornwall is a good cricketer. I always rate that young man. Has a big heart. He is a T20 opener, so when he's ready, he can play a riffle of shots. And I just hope that he can go on and get a big score as well. It will do his confidence a lot in the Test match arena. And and for Sri Lanka, they just got to be disciplined. The ball is still very hard and new. I am disappointed with the pitch, but really and truly, I think that they got to get some wickets with that half new ball and try to make inroads or finish the tail off as quickly as possible.
Johnny Barron?
Well, 287 for 7 looks par when you consider the average first innings score is 277. But as Tino's alluded to, it looks flat, really flat. And you feel if Sri Lanka get their heads down, they could be very dangerous in their first innings, but could well take spin a little later in the game. Fascinating day in prospect.
And of course, Sir Clive Lloyd, your comments are always extremely valuable. Your advice for the West Indies?
Well, the first thing they've got to try and get to 350. Once you get to 350, you're in the game. Anything over that will be a bonus. And I think that Cornwall and the captain, they look very solid. And I think if they can get the first half an hour without losing any wickets, I think they could be really and truly in the ascendancy.
Thank you so much, Sir Clive Lloyd, Johnny Barron, and Tino Best, as we continue to give you the highlights, the updates, and the analysis on tour. West Indies versus Sri Lanka. Play will resume in about 2 or 3 minutes or so with our coverage. And on to tomorrow, I'm Barry Wilkinson. I'll see you then. We'll have much more for you right here on FlowSports. Bye-bye for now.
That's right. We are the West. Turn it up to the top. It's time to jump up. People, are you ready?